Hey, welcome! So today we're going to dive into a psychological theory that sounds simple, but is actually, well, it's incredibly powerful. It's an idea that might just change the way you think about your day-to-day life. It's called the Broaden-and-Build theory, and believe it or not, it could be the key to unlocking the kind of motivation and growth that really lasts. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with a question that I think pretty much everyone has asked themselves at some point. Why is it so hard to stay consistent? You know what I'm talking about. We all have these amazing goals. Maybe it's a side project we're passionate about, a new fitness routine, or learning a new skill. But that initial fire, that burst of energy, it just kind of fizzles out, right? And we're left feeling stuck. It's a totally universal struggle.
But what if the answer wasn't about grinding harder or having some kind of superhuman willpower? What if the secret was actually hidden in something much, much smaller? Something we all experience every single day, but probably overlook. Well, decades of research point to a pretty surprising solution. The answer is found in our smallest, most fleeting moments of positivity.
And that right there brings us to the core idea we're talking about today. It's called the Broaden-and-Build theory, and it perfectly explains how these tiny little emotional sparks can actually ignite huge long-term results in your life. So, what is it exactly? Well, this theory comes from the brilliant psychologist Barbara Fredrickson, and what she proposed is that positive emotions, things like joy, gratitude, maybe even just curiosity, they do two really critical things. First, they broaden our mindset. They literally open us up to see new possibilities. And second, they build our personal resources over time. We're talking about things like resilience, creativity, and social connections. To really get this, look at the contrast here. It makes it all so clear. When we feel negative emotions like fear or stress, our brain basically goes into survival mode. Our thinking narrows, like we've got blinders on. We only see the immediate problem right in front of us. But when we experience positive emotions, our mind literally opens up. The blinders come off. We start seeing more options, we get more creative, and we're just more willing to explore and try new things. And that is the fundamental shift this theory is all about.
I know this all sounds great in theory, but this isn't just some abstract idea from a textbook. Let's look at a real-world example of how this can completely transform someone's journey, taking them from feeling totally stuck to finally building real momentum.
So let me tell you about Sarah. She's an aspiring entrepreneur, and her head is just full of fantastic ideas for her side project. But she's stuck in that classic cycle of procrastination. She feels overwhelmed, she can't get started, and she just can't seem to build any kind of forward momentum. Does any of that sound familiar? So here's what Sarah did. Her solution started with one tiny shift. She began a simple 5-minute gratitude practice every single morning. That's it. At first, it felt almost silly, trivial even. But pretty soon, something started to change. That small daily dose of positivity began to broaden her perspective. She found herself being more focused, more creative when problems came up. And over time, that daily practice built up her internal resources, her resilience, her optimism, giving her the very consistency she'd been desperately looking for. And look, Sarah's story isn't just a nice little anecdote. This is backed by decades of solid, rigorous research published in top-tier psychology journals. Study after study confirms that cultivating these small, positive emotions on a daily basis directly boosts our ability to persevere and to solve complex problems. So no, this isn't just some feel-good pop psychology. It's a scientifically validated path to achievement.
Okay, so this is the best part. How can you actually bring this powerful idea into your own life? Well, the good news is you can start today. Here's a simple 4-step plan to get you going.
First, start seeking out micro moments of joy. This can be as simple as really savoring your morning coffee, or noticing the sun on your face, or a kind word from a colleague. Second, take just a minute each day to reflect on small wins. Acknowledging even tiny achievements creates this powerful, positive feedback loop in your brain. Third, use your curiosity as a tool. Explore a new idea, watch an interesting documentary, just keep your mind open. And finally, number 4, connect with others. Make time for supportive people who lift you up. Positive social connection is one of the most reliable mood boosters there is.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and connect these small, daily practices to the really big picture. Because this whole thing, it isn't just about feeling a little better in the moment. It's about building a solid foundation for long-term success and what you might even call excellence.
You know, it's funny, this modern psychological theory actually echoes something the ancient philosopher Aristotle told us over 2,000 years ago. He said excellence isn't some single heroic act, it's the result of what we do day in and day out. It's a habit. And you know what? Cultivating positivity is one of the most powerful habits you can possibly build.
And to bring it all full circle, let's hear from Barbara Fredrickson herself, the woman who developed this theory. She puts it perfectly. She says that positive emotions aren't just a nice to have. They are the single most important factor in building a flourishing, successful life. They're literally the fuel for that habit of excellence.
So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Do not underestimate the power of small joys. Those tiny, seemingly insignificant moments of positivity, of gratitude, of curiosity, they are the actual building blocks for extraordinary long-term growth. They're the foundation that a resilient and successful life is built on.
And that brings us to one last question. And this one's for you. As you go about the rest of your day, what's one small moment of joy or gratitude or curiosity that you can intentionally cultivate for yourself? Because that one small act, it really might be the start of something big.